Teamwork makes the dream work. There's no I in we. Today, I had the pleasure of interviewing the dynamic duo, Travis and Turner. These two gentlemen know how to talk the talk, but they also know how to walk the walk. If you want to know how to thrive in a down market, stick around. You don't want to miss this. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Wallet Watch. I'm your host, Brian McCauley. As always, we appreciate you guys tuning in, appreciate the love and the support. You guys know here on Wallet Watch, we talk about money and we talk about all things real estate. Speaking of real estate and deals, we got a 2-for-1 special for you today. My next guests are friends of mine, great guys and super hard workers. I want to welcome to the show my man Travis Hitt and Turner Cavender. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
It's about time, bro. It's about time. We've been trying to get this together for a while. So
3 months or so.
Right. A lot to talk about today. We're at halftime 2023. Before we get into all that, in case people have been hiding under a rock and don't know anything about you guys, talk to the audience, a little bit about you, how long you've been in the business, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, like Brian said, Travis Hitt. Been in the business going on 11 years now. I live up in Prosper. Real estate is my passion. Have a team of 4 amazing guys. Turner's one of them. Love working, love helping people. Like I said, 11 years in, rocking and rolling, learning every day, and just helping as many people as we can.
Love it.
Turner Cavender originally came from the fitness industry, owning several gyms throughout the United States. Sold all of them about 3.5 years ago, and was really business savvy, and a lot of people trust me with their livelihood, and that would be the biggest investment in their life, and that'd be real estate. And so I got into it, being that I had to do a lot of deals with commercial, and I've been doing it for about almost 3 years now. So it's been a good ride. I got a great mentor here, and it's been a lot of fun just helping a lot of people, because I that was one of the big passions I had, was helping others when it was the fitness industry. So it's kind of the same situation in real estate.
Nice, man. Well, I appreciate you working with you guys. You guys are awesome. So let's talk to the audience, dude. So it's halftime in 2023. Funky year. Things are trying to thaw out and figure themselves out. Talk to me kind of how was the first half of 2023 for you guys individually and as a team? And then what are you doing to shift? What are your projections for the back half of this year?
Perfect. I'll start and then you can chime in.
Okay, yeah.
I'd say the first part of the year was a bit slow.
Okay.
I think everybody would agree with that. Just from, I think a lot of it comes from mentality and mindset. Is, are interest rates going to come down? Are they not going to come down? Everybody was still on pause, I feel like, in the beginning of the year. Now I'm feeling that shift to where people realize it's here. Like, the interest rates are here. We have to accept it. We can always refi out, right? But I feel like there's more conversations being had, whether it's on the internet, whether it's YouTube, whether it's TV, friends, and people are realizing if they wait, they're wrong. So we're starting to see a bit of a pickup, knowing that Q1's just around the corner and there's more talk about interest rates dropping. But I think people are accepting it now and understanding that they're here for the time being.
100%. I think, in our group, I deal with a lot with the commercial sides of things. And in the beginning of the year, commercial was really just booming and a lot faster. Yeah. And residential is going to be following that, because there's a lot of jobs coming here. I believe we discussed the other day, we're like the top 500. What was it? What was you the other day on a podcast?
500 Fortune?
Yeah, 500 Fortune companies that are coming to Texas. And all kinds of business that are not even in that rank that are coming here as well. So I do believe it's an education-based thing for the consumers, knowing that they're probably not going to see the 2020 numbers again in their lifespan. They might. I don't think so.
Right.
But I just think it's an education-based thing right now.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to talk about Texas and Dallas here in a minute. I think we're lucky to be in this spot. I agree. 23. It's just, people wanted to figure out kind of where the bottom was. It's so inconsistent. People didn't know when to start or stop. I think now people, to your point, have settled on, hey, rates are about like this. They're probably not going to get any worse. They'll come down slowly and they'll tiptoe, but people can put together a plan, because it's not so up and down. I also think that, to your point, the message is getting out there faster of, hey, the rate isn't forever. It's one thing you can redo. You can't redo the house.
Yeah.
And then I think, to your point, as people start to see, like, what I've noticed heading to the back half of the year, as people are okay with the rate for the time being short term, but I think the growth in Dallas is letting people know, like, there's more humans than houses, and so they're wanting to get out in front of it. Dallas is really good about FOMO. Like, as soon as people hear, like, oh my gosh, the housing market's turning up, they're so scared, because so many people missed it in COVID. So they don't want to rent for another 2 years. So it's like, if I don't step up to the plate, right, I may be a non-homeowner for 4 or 5 years, and they realize, like, too much money to flush down the toilet. So I think we're starting to see that on the back half of the year.
Yeah.
People get at least a little bit of clarity. I think as inflation has peaked and it's starting to drip down, and rates follow it. People just have an understanding of what's around the corner. And I think that leads me to my next quick question is 2024, 2025. So interest rates follow inflation. As inflation cools, obviously rates will as well. But heading into an election year, I think that's got a lot to do with it. I think we'll get some cool off and some correction. I think best case scenario, 1.25%. I think worst case, like 0.75. Okay. But I think people know that's on the horizon, especially in an election year, trying to rally stuff and get good news. And I think people know, like, hey, I'd love to wait on a rate, but everybody else is waiting on a rate too. And I think people have a small sample size of COVID was terrible in a sense of the rates were great, but you couldn't get a house.
Yeah.
And so people understand if I wait and I'm the last one in, I might get a better deal on the rate and payment, but it may mess with the house. It may mess with the equity. I may not be able to get it. And so I think they're okay with stepping out in front of it now, especially going into 2024, knowing that like the inventory is not that great. I don't want to get stuck on the sideline again.
Yeah.
So people are starting to make moves. What's your feeling for Dallas specifically? A lot of people will say, oh man, I hear the market's crashing here and there. I'm like, it doesn't matter. If it's California or Iowa, it's like Dallas within 30 miles of here is all that matters. So what are you guys hearing up north, projections for 24 and 25 for our city?
Yeah, I don't feel the recession talk here in Dallas at all.
I mean, it's always been very safe in real estate world
Yeah.
in the Dallas DFW area
Right.
as a whole through all of the crashes and recessions and stuff we had, right?
Yeah, the way I explain it to my buyers is I don't base the market based off residential real estate. I base it off commercial. And I tell all these buyers that are talking to me about, oh, are we going to have a crash? Is my home value going to go down $100,000 in a year? I'll tell them, look at all the commercial companies that are moving here. As long as we have commercial companies and development going on, these people that are putting billions of dollars into moving and relocating and developing, why would they be in a back room discussing that if they think that it's not going to be a success?
Right.
So they're expanding all the roads, they're preparing for all this development because we have so many people moving here. It's supply and demand. There's other states and other areas that don't have what we have. We have land mass and we have major companies and corporations moving here.
Yeah.
That brings people and it brings entertainment and excitement.
It's good. I think the other alternative too is renting's not cheap. People used to rent to save a buck, and now with the population growth here and there, I think that's the thing people have to understand is the rates are important, the housing market stuff's important, but it's like there's so many people moving here that the demand just continues to go up. And so when it flips to the other side, back in the day you could rent and save 50%. Now it's just like rent's so expensive as well, so you don't get a big financial cut by doing the rent thing. And so I think people look and say, hey, my mortgage is $3,000, my rent's $2,500. Like, I'm okay making the leap because you get tax deductions, equity, a place to call your own. If it's $3,000 and $1,800, I get it. But the growth piece is pushed demand up everywhere, and I think people are tired of not getting a deal, but also flushing money, which is important. So talk to me about what you guys are hearing on the agent side specific to rates. I know that's the hottest topic. I know people are the most sensitive to it. What do you think the big fear is around it, or what do you think maybe the big misunderstanding of like the rate is important, but it's not as important as you think? Here are some other factors and why. What are you seeing? What are the objections? What are you guys struggling with right now with clients on the rate piece?
I think definitely you'll definitely conquer this after I start with this, but I think obviously the beginning of it is just the education part of it, right?
Okay.
Is most of the people that there's a lot of new buyers on the market, right? At least I'm seeing it because I'm that age. My friend's buying, and so they're all like FOMO, basically. They missed out on the 2020, 2021 rates, and they think that what the rate they're seeing now is way higher than what they saw. But the education part is that they're not going to get that again. And the longer you wait, the more expensive you are. We just did a podcast the other day about, putting yourself in a better position now with the higher rate, and then refinancing down the road. Capitalize on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people listen to people, right? So I feel like with the interest rates, they're higher. Well, as long as people are saying they're high, and as long as their friends are saying I'm not buying because it's high, people follow. So we have less leaders than we do have followers. I think now people are starting to buy to capitalize on that because they're getting a lower price point on the home, that their friends are starting to do it. They're starting to realize, hey, the interest rate may be high, but it still makes sense to purchase. I tell people, I go, just look back in the economy, 6-7%. That's a good interest rate. Where can you go borrow $600,000, $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 for a 6% interest rate, a 7% interest rate? Not many places. So I feel like with the interest rate, people are just understanding that it's here. But the more that people buy, the more that people are following because they don't want to miss out. A lot of people missed out in the COVID, so they don't want to be a second person again missing out just because of the interest rate.
Sure.
So I tell people, I do a math situation with them, but I tell them as long as it's affordable, you need to buy.
Right.
Because prices are going to go up as soon as those interest rates drop. And people
Values.
are understanding that now as well. I think that once they do drop, it's going to be a feeding frenzy again when it gets into the fives.
I think both of y'all are correct. I think the other thing that people think is when they talk about the interest rate, they care a lot about the payment. It's relative, but it's not the fullness of the story. Meaning there's more to buying a house than the rate and the payment, which is, hey, the trade-off is, well, when interest rates are normally low, prices are high. When interest rates are high, prices are low. It's not quite the case in Dallas here and there, but it's the trade-off piece, the completion of the story of, yes, the rate might be in the sixes and your payment's $2,000 higher, but the trade-off is, hey, when rates drop, prices go like this. So the problem is that $400,000 house at $699 is $470 at $499.
Right.
So your mortgage payment is a little bit cheaper, yeah, but what you pay more for the house on, it's about a balance in the payment. The kicker is, dude, I'd rather buy on the low end and make the swing up and make 40, 50, 60 grand on the back end and refi. So I find too with the education piece, especially with first time home buyers, that's all they see is payment. Their box is fixed and it's small and you can't blame them, but it's up to us to go, hey, by the way, there's 4 or 5 more layers. Let me show you and tell you. And I think the more people that are out there educating, but also seeing their friends going, hey, it's not the worst thing ever. We got a good price at a decent house, and we know it might be a forever home, but it's not a long-term loan, and this is the trade. Because I tell people like, hey, what do you think would happen if you flipped the switch tomorrow and rates went to 5.5? It'd be great. You got about a 30-day window to get the best of both. A decent house, a decent price, and a rate and payment. After that, like, party on. You're stuck again, and you don't want to miss out. So I think when people are concerned about that, it is relevant, but it's not the full picture. And I think people have to understand, like, the trade-off actually might be worse. I prefer to be a buyer in this market, knowing what we know. Dude, if I was buying a house, I would get it and get 6% concession, and I would go to the cleaners. Buy the rate down, get turf, get paint, like, hook it up, and then a year from now, like, I'm refining from my couch. But I'm not out in the streets with y'all, the Wild Wild West, where a house gets listed at breakfast and you got to make an offer by lunch and jump the shark 30, 40 grand. So I think this education piece is important for everybody. But if they understand first base, second base, third base, and home, not just the rate, they'll understand the fullness of it and be more active.
I like the way you said, there are more leaders out there, and those leaders are usually the ones that educate themselves.
Sure.
And we live in a world where there's a lot of followers and stuff. So I believe I like what you said on that.
Yeah.
It's that we need some educated leaders out there to have all these other people to follow along.
It's true.
Yeah, it is very true. I like that you said that.
Well, and I think also too, doing this for 18 years, no one's had to talk about this in Dallas for a long time. It's been a great run. It's been consistent. House prices have been fair. The expansion has been good. Rates have been okay. And then COVID hit and boom, and it's like spotlight on. Yeah. And now everybody has to switch gears and pivot. And so a lot of people don't have the knowledge or they're not familiar with it. And you got to make yourself, educated around the spots that matter to the people the most, but open their eyes to like, hey, there's more to it than this. And you can always give the rate back. You can't get the house back. There are some people I know that I did loans for COVID. They got $399 and they bought it $700 and now they're at $680.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, what about this? And they're like, no way. Especially for buyers too, maybe to get closing costs and all these things. So compounding education is important. I think the other sticker that I'm seeing now is like, you guys can speak to this more than me, but there's a lot of sellers that have good interest rates on their houses and they don't want to give up that rate because rates aren't ideal, but also there's not a lot of inventory available. So how many people do you guys deal with personally, or even like in theory, do you think there's a lot of sellers sitting on some equity and they're hanging out because of their limited understanding of like, oh, I've got a 4%. If I go sell right now, I'm going to get a 6.5. My payment's going to be up. There's a flip side of that coin as well, because if that happens, inventory will open up, but there's a lot of people stuck on that. So how many people are y'all running into on the flip side of the coin that's like, I'd love to, but there's no inventory and I got a 3% rate?
A lot.
Yeah.
I don't even want to put a number on it because
I'm one of those people.
Yeah, it's a majority of people right now.
Okay.
We talked about this a couple days ago. I think that's going to change in the next 2 to 3 years as well with some IRS laws that are out there that a lot of people don't know. I'm working with 2 folks right now. That's exactly what they're doing. They're keeping their current home because of the interest rate, renting it out, and they're going and buying their new home because they don't want to let it go and get rid of it. What people also have to understand, though, is when they do that, capital gains tax. So you can only keep that home for a certain amount of years before the IRS will tag you with capital gains tax when they do go to sell. So I think it's a great idea, but a lot of people that are keeping their primary home to rent it out, they don't want to be landlords.
Sure.
And so they're not aware of those tax implications potentially of holding it. If you hold it past a certain threshold of 3 years, you may end up spending more money than what you made in profit in those 3 years. So I think once that information comes out, we will have more inventory, but I don't blame them. If you have a low interest rate, in the way that our rents are right now, there's a lot of people that are keeping their homes, which is affecting our market with the
Yeah,
inventory.
definitely inventory for sure.
Yeah. So the same thing applies for sellers as buyers. So one of the things I tell sellers is, hey, like if you've got a 3% interest rate and you love it and you don't want to deal with the market rate, the flip side is they've made so much money since 2020 until now in the equity piece. For the sellers out there, if you don't love the rate, you can take a piece of your profit and buy down your actual rate. So if you made, let's say in the past 3 years, you made 100K equity. If you sell it and make 100K, you can take 20K, slice it off, put the 80 in your pocket, and then take that 20 and buy your rate down from 699 to 499 like that. So there is opportunity for sellers, but this goes back to the education piece. Or say, okay, if COVID never hits, you wouldn't be up 100, you would be up 50. So would you rather be up 50 at a 499 or rather be up 100 at 699? Take that 100, take 20 off the table, but you're still plus 30 on your proceeds, and then take that 20, buy down the interest rate, the best of both worlds.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I just don't think
Does
people
that interest rate stay there? Just to educate.
Yeah.
So it stays there.
You can
It's
choose
not like
a temporary or a permanent.
Got it.
The option is up to the person that's doing it. The temporary is short term, deeper and lower on the rate and the payment, but it doesn't stay forever.
Okay.
The permanent, though, is, hey, if I want to do it one time. Most people do it one time because there's no benefit or no projection of a refinance on the horizon. Because there's a projection on the horizon, it doesn't make sense to spend 20 grand to buy your rate down 1.5%. Spend 10 grand to buy it down 2% temporarily until the market naturally turns in your favor in the refi. But for all your clients and people watching out there, the same thing for the buyers on the buy down, it's the seller. But it's also the proceeds piece of, hey, you got some extra because COVID went boom. If it didn't, you wouldn't have 100, you'd have 70. So do you want to take that 30 back? Here's the alternative. And so their fixed mindset of saying, well, I don't love the payment. Well, you got extra from the COVID equity, so take a piece of it, buy down the rate, temporary or permanent, but you can still get what you want. Understanding this strategy now and knowing you could do a temporary or a permanent depending upon the people. Most people are doing the temporary because it's cheaper, it's deeper, but also the kicker here is that permanent buy downs are one-time fixed from the first payment all the way through, and the buy down money is non-refundable. Temporary is refundable for the prorated portion. So if you do a 2-year or a 3-year, let's say you spend 20 grand, 30 grand, but the market turns back before the election, you've only gone through halfway of the 2 years. When you refi and pay it off and get it all done, if you got 15K left, you get a refund. Literally, it's money back to them. So they can take that money and pay off debt. They can upgrade their house. They can use that to pay for the refinance and some.
Yeah.
Right? But these are the pieces you go back to the seller education piece. And so for me, it's like I'm only on the buy side. So my conversation is always with the buy. But I had 2 people the other day that said, like, well, we've got a 2875 and a 39, and we just don't want to get it all done. And I said, look, same thing. You made 400% on your return in 18 months because of COVID on some free money. Boom. You're in a better spot. Even if you sell, carve out a slice, buy down the rate, take the rest. You're still up. But I think people need to recognize that, like you guys, and just go through that and say, hey, here's what you can do. If you don't want to be a landlord to get it all done, take your piece, do the buy down, set good for 12 or 24 months, and that way they're not stuck. But it's the same thing with sellers as buyers. I think they're fixed on one base. They just don't know the whole game, and it's up to us to say, here's the alternative. Now what do you think, to give them the light bulb, at least have the options.
Yeah. Great information.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't know that there's a lot of different avenues and scenarios that can go into buying and selling. A lot of people think it's fixed. Oh, I got to put 3% down, 20% down. They don't understand that you can get a whole package. So I'm going to plug Brian right now. I wish more people would just call a lender. They feel like they're locked in if they call, or they have to make a decision. I tell all my clients before we even look at houses, the first thing you're going to do is talk to a lender. Yeah. Because they'll set them up on a roadmap. That's what y'all do, is you take and you can explain exactly what they can do, to where there's not just one option or 2 options. There's quite a few, but people don't know it. I mean, we have to learn it every day. Things change. So I wish more people would just get more comfortable making that phone call, because there's a lot more they can do typically than what they know or think.
Yeah, it's good. I think lenders a lot of lenders aren't aware of that. Lenders that have been in the business for 5 or 6 years came in and they were refi heavy. And all that really doesn't apply to a refi. And so I think it's trial by fire, but I think in this market, people are having to hyper learn it. It's 5 years of learning in 12 months to feed the consumer what they need, because their life from a mastery page is just a chessboard. And Before this, we only had to move two pieces. Now you have to move everything around all the time, and if this, then that. But if you're not aware of it, people miss out on the opportunity. What they're going to wait for is rates again because they're fixed on that one thing, where it may end up being a worse position. So, I mean, I agree. I love talking to clients, going through all this specific to the mortgage, but sometimes people are sensitive to the payment. I'm like, dude, your credit card payment is $250.
Yeah.
I saw you eat at Mikasina twice for $120. Like, there's a way to shrink things down always. But if your partner, financial person you're talked to doesn't know anything more than application rate and or payment, they're not giving you the fullness on the strategy and how to create wealth and how to see the market that we see it to be able to capitalize on the opportunity, which is why I think you guys are here. But obviously why we're preaching to the choir of like, there's so many ways to skin a cat. It's just who's going to be your person to get it all done. And this is where we have so much success with helping your clients and our clients with like saying, hey, we know your first thought, it's a real thought, but it's not full.
Yeah.
Let me show you the fullness piece so they understand. That's why I said I wish I was buying a house now. I would just take it to the cleaners, but I try to put stuff out there online. I try to do as many, classes and podcasts and stuff because it's important. And I think I want people to have the full knowledge on the buy side and the sell side, so that way they're able to make a full decision and not be limited on what they don't know.
Yeah, that's correct.
And I think that's really, really good. And I want you guys to kind of touch on this for a minute. Kind of leads me to that's one of the things that's helped me stand out in this market. Separate is knowledge, work ethic, and speed. What are some things you guys are doing? Because a lot of lenders and agents are getting squeezed right now. They don't know what's doing. The work ethic isn't good. They're not aware of what to say and what to do. So you guys have still had a great year. You're still here. Couple things you guys are doing to not only survive, but to continue to thrive.
Right. Yeah, we're not just here; we're working, and we stay busy and helping people. But I think one of that is education. I'm huge on knowledge and education, and so one thing I love to do is just make sure our clients know that. Make sure that people that we're talking to understand that we're not just realtors; we're also advisors. I don't know the loan process like you do, but I want everybody to know that I have people in my corner that can answer every question, that can help with every scenario, and we're constantly talking to our clients and putting that information out there. That we're here to help. We're not just here to open up doors. We're here to advise and help make true good decisions when it comes to real estate. And we stay busy. The market's not great right now, but that doesn't mean you need to sit on your couch, eat Cheetos, and cry. There's still a lot of ways we can get out there and work. And one thing I tell my guys is just because you're not showing a house every day, you're not talking to a client every day, we have to educate ourselves.
Totally.
We have to learn and keep up with the moving pieces because things are constantly changing. The government's constantly changing things to help the economy, help the real estate market, and just help us survive. So just because we're not busy every day specifically with a client, agents and lenders that aren't educating themselves and putting out information so they can better help somebody whenever the time comes, that's where a lot of people are going wrong, in my opinion. So we try to constantly stay up with what's going on, learning, asking questions with guys with you to make us smarter.
Yeah, I mean, to capitalize on that, it's like the iceberg theory, It's, everybody sees just the tip top. We got this massive bold, down here on the bottom. And education is a big part. I'm going to be honest with you. Some of the stuff you just told us right now is just straight new news to me. So
but that's what I
want
to do.
So this was great. So we have a platform just kind of like this to get information out there to the public, whether it's our clients on our email list, text list, or whatever, or follow us on YouTube or Instagram, whatever it is. We're getting information out there, whether they ask the question or not. We're throwing it out there in their face. And I believe as an agent, eating Cheetos is number one, not a good idea in the first place, but definitely not moping around. But getting your face out in front of people.
Yeah.
If you're an agent out there and you really want to be successful, don't be lazy.
Right.
Work hard. I mean, you made this out of thin air, right? It was an idea, and then you made it come reality, and now this is good information for the public to see.
Yeah.
The same thing with your Instagram. You do really good reels, lots of great information-based videos. I copied some of them straight up, and I even asked for permission.
Yeah.
And so we're doing the same thing. And
here's a secret. I copy some too.
Good information is good
It's
information.
Good knowledge, right. Yeah. I mean, knowledge is power.
I don't like to step on toes, always ask for permission. But
No.
to answer your question, it's really just driving information to the public and just being the person that people want to go to and talk to when they have a question.
To Travis's point, the knowledge is out there. Nobody has a magic wand.
Yeah.
People have a lot of fear, and they're looking for somebody that's headstrong, that knows what they're doing to guide them through. They're looking for a little bit of calm in the storm. There's nothing fancy. I like the self-education piece, and I like the surround yourself with people that are better and know more, whether it be an accountant, a realtor, a lender, a CPA. Dude, everybody has stuff, and you start gluing this onto yourself and a team over a long period of time, and what you find yourself is in a space to where you are a full encyclopedia. Other people don't have that, and they're limited on their scope, and so they can't help themselves and help others like they should. That's where I think the education piece comes in, and that could be coaching, that could be training, that could be talking to your buddy. I live on YouTube. I like education so much that side note, I fell into a creative finance deal like 9 months ago, and I ended up taking 20 hours of CE and learning about all these novation agreements and sub-2 and seller financing and all these things just because it's so interesting. And I realized, oh my gosh, there's twice as many deals out there that I even thought there was out there that I didn't even know. But it's just because I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing starts from elementary all the way to high school when it comes to buyers, sellers, and all this. And so,
One way to say it.
right. One, being able to link up with people and experience and know, like, look at all these things financially. Look at all these things that you can do because the options are out there. We've heard this plenty of times as guys and as kids. Like, a lot of wealthy people make their killing in a down market because they know what other people don't know. But you don't discover that until you get in a place to where it requires brain power and structure and education and all that. Dude, when it's 299, anybody can roll. Anybody can roll, right? Yeah. But that's not normal. That's okay. Everybody can have their run. Every financial industry gets a little extra gravy every now and then. You stay in it long enough. But opportunity is here. Education is the component that will make people better and be able to take care of their families, their friends, but also like capitalize on the market to say, like, no, do all this here and there, and you might end up helping somebody and making more money if you did it just in a general or an upswing with low rates. So I'm glad you guys are on that.
I think one more thing as well. I like to think I'm a decent agent. But one thing I do, and I've done this my entire life, and I kind of realize that I do this, and I just put it into my business. Any great agent out there right now, they think outside of the box. They think differently rather than just your norm.
Right.
And so I think the people that are winning and thriving right now, they're able to not just look at a picture and see the art, see the picture. They're able to see the whole frame. And so the agents and the lenders right now that are able to look at something and think outside of the box and work a situation are the ones that are winning right now, because everything, if you just go straight line into your normal process, your normal loan,
correct,
it may not be affordable or it may not look attractive. But if you're able, like you said, people eat out. I have a client recently that wanted to put 20% down on a home, and they still didn't want to buy because of the mortgage. Well, we looked at the finances, and they've got a $500 car payment. They've got a $200 this payment, a $300 this payment. So we took the same 20%, but put part of it down on a loan, part of it to eliminate debt, and he ended up paying less monthly with all cost out, and he loved it.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to see the full picture sometimes right now in a down market to be able to make it affordable and make it attractive to others.
But once you learn that and you see it, you can never unsee it.
Right.
And it benefits people so much more in the short term and the long term. I'll give a little quick tip to the audience out there. I won't say the name of the creditor, but I do this financial strategy with every client. So I had a client that had 2 credit cards last month, and I don't remember the payments. They were maybe like $300 a piece, but both APRs were 19% and 13%. So my credit attorney knows a place where you can apply for the credit card. For the first 12 months, you can roll over the balance at 0% interest. So what we did is we got that card all squared up. He called the 2 institutions back and said, hey, I just got approved for this card to roll over the balance at 0%. If you don't lower my stuff to 0, I'm going to close it. So they came back and they said, well, we can't do 0, but we'll do 4% and 2. And it shrunk the total payments down from $700 to $118. Wow. That strategy alone, knowledge, I learned it from somebody. Dude, that's like $400,000 in house price. Wow. That's 5% as an actual rate. But knowing that nugget could help a million, whether rates are at 2.99 or 10.99, the strategy on the credit cards, the highest best use in the money, where can you find other pickups? All that stuff matters.
That's thinking outside of the box.
It's just knowledge is power, soaking all that up. And whether the market's great or terrible or in the middle, all this stuff matters. But you have to know it. And I think the people that are taking the approach, the number one thing for me is work ethic. Dude, if you get up every morning and you are disciplined and you go say, hey, I'm going to go learn one thing. I'm going to self-teach myself on YouTube. I'm going to blah, blah, blah. That commitment will make you great. But this market requires, and so the mindset piece, like anybody can choose to turn their alarm on at 5 a.m. and get up and go. Read the book 10 pages, do one course, blah, 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 over a period of time. Yeah. That's how you get into a position to where 60 days from now, you're 5 times as good as you were prior to, because Turner taught me this, because Travis taught me this, because blah, 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 and these compound effect happens. You become better for yourself, for your clients, and their outcome is better because of you. That's why I gave the credit card example. We didn't do nothing. I just said, hey, here's a strategy that I know to help you create wealth to put you in a better position. One, for yourself, but two, now you're not so worried about that mortgage payment that's $200 higher because I just saved you $700 over here. And he's like, that's amazing.
It's a no-brainer.
No brainer. So, that part of it's good. I want to go back to what you mentioned earlier and want you guys to talk about it because y'all are on the cusp. I love what y'all are doing. I want to talk about branding, going back to like how to stand out in this industry, how to make yourself different from the competition. You guys are on a pretty good video run. You're doing podcasts and stuff. Talk to me about y'all's branding position aspect. What do you think realtors and lenders should be doing better? What you guys approach the video? And I even want to tease AI here in a minute, but talk to me about your strategy for video. Why are you doing it? How does it help you? How does it help the client?
So this guy's going to be the professional on that, but I'll say something real quick. My biggest thing is because I'm not techie. I'm not a marketing expert. I just like to work.
Yeah.
And I think for me, what I do is I just put out my real self, what I'm doing, and I just put it out to people. It's not edited. I'm not trying to make it fancy. I'm not working on $5 million homes constantly, and that's it. I'm just putting it out there that I'm working. And I think people like that because I'm not trying to church it up and show something that I'm not really doing. I'm just working, whether I'm having success that day or it comes in 30 days. Every single day, I'm going to wake up and work. When it comes to the actual marketing and branding, he's really, really good at that. But my advice to all agents and lenders out there is just put yourself out there. Put your real self out there in front of people.
Yeah. Basically, he does a really good job of showing people his life when it comes to his work ethic. And then also, it's not always just about work.
Yeah.
Throw your lifestyle in there, whether it's you're hanging out with your kid or
Yeah.
whatever you like to do, me riding dirt bikes or with my dog, Charlie, whatever it is. But
You're with Steph, he's with Kim, he's with Decker. Like, that's relatable.
Yeah, exactly. So people can relate to that. But then, for the free agents out there need to know this, it can't always just be work or something you're selling because if you do that, that's just that person's gonna be like, okay, swipe off. I'm over it. Like, I want to see some interesting stuff. I want to see what I can relate to. When it comes to the branding side of it, I believe I was educated on this because when I was in the fitness industry, you really had to stand out, because it's saturated. And
Sure.
So with that being said, I really wanted to elevate ourselves as the person that they want, the public wants to go to and have a question about real estate.
Yeah.
And that's why we started a podcast and starting doing, city tours and home tours. But at the same time, agents out there think that they just need to show, like to capitalize on what you said, just need to show these big $1 million homes. Okay. Well, that's just going to close you out on all these other homes because the public's going to say, well, he probably doesn't work with $300,000 homes,
Sure.
right? So that's going to take you away all that whole. It's just going to squeeze you out. So don't do that. There's a lot of agents out there to do that just to be all flashy and cool because it's Instagram and think everything's real in there. That's BS. Don't do that. Be yourself, like you said. Show your lifestyle. But when it comes to branding, brand yourself as the professional, the expert in your industry. And that's why we have the Real Estate Leadership Podcast and our YouTube channel. And we just want to be the expert in our industry.
I think, when people watch you guys, what they get from both of you is real. You're aware. When you do your stuff, you're funny, you have your own way of doing it, but it's real. People can relate. For you, whether it be at church or whether you're hanging with the fam, you're real. You're a hard worker, and I think people like that. And I think in an industry where there's a lot of noise, being real is great. I also think, too, consistency is good, but I agree, variety is good too. I mean,
like when I did that open house that one day, and I was being goofy.
Yeah.
And nobody was in there that one day. I remember you said it was like the best video ever. It
was great.
I was on it that day. I was like, I'm making something funny.
Yeah.
So yeah,
why do
funny
you guys?
too.
Why do you guys like? What do you think? Why do you think realtors struggle so much with video? Like, I know they always say like, oh, I don't have enough time. I'm like, if you don't have time, it's the number one reason you got to shoot video. It compounds the time. But what do you think?
The first thing I think is what Travis had to battle with a little bit is that I got him out of that box. It's just he was worried about what other people thought.
Sure.
Just shoot it. Who cares?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
If you actually, I heard this from a very big entrepreneur. He's like, I think it was LinkedIn. The creator of LinkedIn and said, if you are not embarrassed of your product when you put it out there, you started too late. Meaning that you didn't do it fast enough because you were trying to be a perfectionist of how you look, what was behind you. Just shoot.
Yeah.
Do it. You'll get better. Yeah, you're going to suck when you start. That's part of it. We all suck at something when we
Right.
start something. So the same thing.
But we sucked at cold calls and we sucked at listings and I
Right.
sucked at loans. And then, like, at one time, people were out of shape and they're in shame, like, you got to start. So you think it's people, they're just self conscious of their image and they feel like they're analyzing themselves way more. Like, I analyze myself and I'm like, I stutter and blah, blah, blah. But no one really cares as much. So
one
it's
cares.
like,
Yeah.
you're right. So I feel like if they could just get started, when you get started, then you keep going.
And the confidence comes behind it.
Right. And I think people realize over time it's muscle memory. You get in a place to where you're cool. People start reacting in a nice way. So I just encourage that because video is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
It's only getting stronger and faster and better. And I feel like if you're not on the platform in some way, even if it's organic or whether you're doing $1 million listing or whether you're doing YouTube educationals, you got to be in front of it from a brand. For me, what it's helped do, it's done two things. It's educate people when I can't have that many phone calls. Right. It's true. but-
Compounding your time.
You're right. But also it's put my business partners in a position to where they can learn from my videos, but also send it to their clients as a teaser of like, by the way, here's some good information.
Yeah.
Brian, we'll talk about it with you here and there, but it's an extension of me as well. And I picked that up and really put it in hyper gear during COVID because we were all stuck at home. You had to be in the digital space. And so it forced me to like crank up my CRM, crank up the video. And I look back now and I'm like, I couldn't imagine doing business without it. You want it to be real, you want it to stick, but at the same time, like, I just think people got to get started and continue and make it as normal as a call because it's going to benefit you so much in the long run.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, like you said, he helped me get out of my shell. Just sitting here, I still get nervous being on camera. I don't.
Me too.
I don't.
He
know
loves
why.
it when I mess up. He loves it.
It makes me
'cause
so
I-
happy.
I do mess
I'd be
up.
more shocked if you didn't. Everybody does.
I mess up and he's like, yes.
But for me, it had nothing to do with other people. It was all a self-doubt thing that I didn't like to be on video. I didn't like the way I sounded. I didn't like this, that, the other. It was really more of a scare tactic that I didn't know what I was doing. So I didn't want to get started because I felt like I have no clue what I'm doing. What really changed me was a couple things. One, it's 2023 now. Everything's digital. And if you're not going to get on the train, then just stay back. But the other thing, once I started putting videos out, one of the most rewarding things was people would message me. They would call, hey, thanks for putting that out. That's good information. Hey, I heard what you said. Can you explain this? Or, hey, I love the positivity. You helped my day. Once I started getting those, I'm like, oh, okay, I may suck or think I suck, but if other people can get some enjoyment or get some knowledge out of it, why would I not do this? So that's
great
what
value.
continues to drive me because I personally, I don't like video. I don't like to do it, but I like the reward and I like the benefits that we get out of it of helping other people.
Yeah, it's good. And I mean, the busier you get and the more the team grows, like there's only so much time in the day. There's been so many places in my life where people would say like, hey, I got a question about a buy down or what about your doctor program or what about a recast? And like, I either can't take the call. I'm like, hey, check out this YouTube in the meantime. I'll call you in an hour.
Yeah.
And that becomes the norm to where you are responding that way to help the customer or the client build yourself much, much faster. And so to your point, it's not really about we think about each other, it's what's best for the street.
Yeah.
And I think once you realize the impact that has on your brand and also on the client, you can't just not do it.
Right.
So let me ask you about this. This is a switch topic. I want to talk about new construction. You guys are way better at this than me, whether it's buy side, sell side, list or whatever. It was with the COVID boom, new construction was on fire. They were just, making money hand over fist, building like crazy. Then the plane started to go down. They took some cuts, things here and there. And I feel like it's starting to come back slightly, but I can't see it as well as you guys can. What do you see in new construction versus a year ago? Where do you think it's trending end of this year? What do you think it'd be 2024? What's the feeling out there on that?
Yeah, I'd say new construction is back, and it's a lot of agents. We laugh. I remember getting my first email post-COVID from a new construction salesperson, and I was like, "Oh, where have you been the last year and a half?"
Yeah.
Because they didn't need us, and because everybody was shopping with the low interest rates. They're giving homes away with incentives. Everybody was just trying to get into a house. Well, now that the buyers have scaled back, new home sales is kind of back to being a benefit.
Right.
They're giving more concessions
Hi, it's us again. We need you.
Yeah,
They're doing
exactly.
a lot of incentives now.
Yeah, they are. So we're seeing the discounts again, the better price per square foot for new construction because they don't want inventory sitting on the market. And with the way the market is right now with the interest rates, that's what they're going to get. I think builders are smart right now. They're picking up as much inventory as they can land-wise. Like you said, the smartest people will buy when the market's down because you get a better price. And so these builders are doing that, but they have to have buyers to come and buy it. So we're seeing it again that they're giving more concessions, they're giving discounts.
Okay.
They're making it attractive for buyers to come and buy new construction rather than pre-owned.
So as far as the pace of building, the COVID, it was like on a scale of 1 to 10, builders were at a 20. it was unhealthy. So when it bottomed out, they were back down to a 3. So where do you think it is now as far as the pace? I want people to say on a $400,000 house, they're building at a 10. On a 700, they're at a 6. Just so people know the inventory is so thin, people are having to get as is. But if new construction is back and it's blooming, I want people to know what to look for. Obviously, call you guys first, but what's the expectation on the volume and the trend of how fast builders are getting back at it again?
Yeah, they're definitely back a lot faster than it was. No matter what the price point was, COVID and just post-COVID, I was telling people you can expect 12 to 15 months easily. I didn't care what the price point was because it was mainly the workers, the vendors that they're working with. There's big delays. Now I'm seeing, I tell people on a luxury side, you're looking anywhere from 9 to 12 months is what I like to tell them.
Okay.
Lower price point, smaller home, more of a, not a manufactured build, but a bigger community where they're just, repping them out. We're seeing anywhere from 7 to 9 months again.
Okay.
So it's getting back to the norm, but I like to tell people whatever they tell you, tack on 60 days. 60 days right up front. Just because the delays, we're still seeing a shortage in not inventory, but in product. So if you purchase a home, you put a contract on it, and you select the floors, don't be shocked if in 3 months they come back and say, hey, we can't get that from the manufacturer. So we're still seeing delays on the manufacturer side rather than just the building. So whatever they tell you the build time is, that's with what they have in their catalog right now for all the products that they're putting in the home. That could easily change. And I've seen it a couple deals here lately to where the tile they couldn't get anymore, or the wood they didn't have enough through the manufacturing plant to service it in 5 months whenever they're going to be ready for the floors, and people have to go and reselect. So I just tell people whatever time frame they tell us right now, let's add on 45 to 60 days, and if we hit it sooner, great.
And are those product delays really more specific to the builder, the price point, or is it across the board? I don't care if you're building a 1.5 or 4, like wood's behind and everything.
I think it's
Across the board.
yeah.
Okay.
It's
And
more than manufacturing.
What do you think builders are hesitating around the most right now? I mean, if they can't get the product, are there labor issues? Are they just careful about the money that's going out? Like, what do you think builders' heads are at? Because obviously they're healthy enough to come back, but they're not in fifth gear. So outside of maybe the labor or the product, what do you think builders' hesitation is of booming even more?
You said, I think, the biggest hesitation, which is labor. Right now, we're still seeing a huge problem area in
The physical work,
getting
the
Yeah,
hammer and nail,
I'm
and the humans.
seeing the same crew
Okay.
go right next door and start working on that.
Okay.
And then the next door, like,
because they're going
yeah.
wherever buyers are, whoever's pumping out the most homes. Because builders right now, with the interest rates, they're not getting the buyers that they were. So they may have a house that's done and it sits on the market for 60, 90 days. Well, when these labor guys are seeing that, they want to go to the builder that is selling more. And so they're just jumping around to wherever the work is, which I don't blame them. They got to make money. Yeah. But it's really hurting the builder world of keeping consistent labor workers that are building these homes.
Because it's not all the way back. So it's like warm enough to make it happen, but you can't have full crews all the time doing it 15-hour days. So people are still having to share some.
Correct.
Keep costs down, get it all done. Okay, good. That's good for people to know. It's crazy in an industry that, was having all kinds of corrections. People were begging for deals, and now you got people where, you need more workers and you can't get them. I think as things, especially Dallas specific, as things turn the corner for the better and rates drop and it gives people a little bit more oxygen, I think that'll tick up quickly. And then I think the issue won't be workers. It'll be, just supply stuff and demand, and then escalating prices, and what about appraisals? And then I'm sure builders probably have a fear factor in their back pocket of, what if it feels good now, but all of a sudden something happens in early 24 that we can't expect with war or something here and there, and all of a sudden I got, my whole life out there and my line of credit again and blah, 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 because they just got cut back and probably corrected. But that's good to know that you bake those expectations in with the client of, hey, if it's 100 days, 130. If it's just add in the cushion, probably because there's always unintended consequences with builders, whether it be labor, supply, market, or whatever. It's just best to set that up front.
Absolutely, 100%.
Nice.
I
Okay,
think if you
good.
don't, you're failing your client. You're failing yourself.
Yeah.
Quick question. This came up in my meeting earlier. If a builder is going to close on a home, and let's say, at what point does a builder try to give a buyer and an agent a confident expectation of the close date? Is that 60 days out? Is it 100? What's the norm, and what are you seeing? Because as a lender, if I lock the interest rate in for 30 days and the builder says we're good in 30, but it extends for 45, it causes an issue. And I'm getting to a funny thing here, just here in a minute, but it's going to become an issue again when it booms and people are like, I'm not sure when to lock. I don't want to know, markets here and there. So when does a builder really give you guys like, hey, we're for sure set to close on X date? Is that a 30-day window? Is it a 60? What's the norm?
I mean, I've experienced a 30-day.
Okay.
What about you?
I'd say the norm is 45 days.
Okay.
Is typically the norm. Once they lay countertops, that's the rule of thumb is they will not give you a close date typically until they lay countertops.
Good to know. So 45 days or countertops is the standard, because it always happens with the clients, and they always ask me like, should I lock? I'm like, I don't know if the builder delays, if it's shorter here and there. And so what happens is loans are locked on 15-day increments. So 15, 30, 45, 60, 75, 90. And the further out, the worse the rate. The closer, the better. So it's all timed off the builder.
Yeah.
So they don't want to lock too soon, then it's the lock extension. Who pays for that? They don't want to wait, because what if the market dips? And so it's interesting to hear, but it's nice for people to know the takeaway is, hey, 45 days, give or take, it's important. You can lock further out, but people don't want to do that because obviously there's hedge and the rate, it's higher, but they don't want to wait too long. So it's a back and forth game, but it's good to know that that's about when you can bullseye a builder is probably 45 days.
I tell all my clients, once countertops are in, you're pretty much safe.
Nice.
I don't guarantee it, but once they're in, you're pretty much safe to lock.
Cool. Last topic, sensitive topic, but I want to get around it. We're talking about economy, new construction projection. How much do you guys think next year's election is going to have an effect on what happens here and with the market in general? Do you think Dallas is going to be impacted as much? What's your feeling on that?
I mean, I feel like every election has been affected most of the time on the positive side. Obviously, with a little bit lower of interest rates to drive economy. That's always been a good thing for them for election. What do you think?
I think the election's going to do one big thing, and that's lower the interest rates, and that's going to cause a frenzy in buying. Because I tell people, go back historically, why would any presidential candidate or current president raise the interest rates if they're trying to get reelected?
Yeah,
sure.
It's just it's an easy thought to think about. But I think too, we went through a really good economy with really low interest rates, gas prices really low. People still didn't like, who was in office.
Right.
And then we went through another time era right now that some people don't like who's in office, some people do, but we have a worse economy. We have higher inflation, we have higher interest rates, higher gas prices. So I think either way, as long as it's a positive of what happens,
Sure.
I don't think it's going to change a ton. I think the biggest thing that's going to change is if we can get those interest rates down and prices come down a little bit, it's going to be a feeding frenzy in our market.
Yeah.
Other markets may be different.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to change a ton, because we've kind of seen within a 6-year period, they're really, really good when it comes to money. And then we've seen more of the bad and hurting. And so I'm hoping no matter what happens, it'll level off a little bit more. But we've been through both within a 10-year period.
Yeah.
So no matter what, I think people are going to still buy, but the biggest thing is going to be once those interest rates come down, no matter who's in
Everybody's going to
presidency,
come off the sidelines.
everybody's going to be buying.
I agree. And that's the takeaway for folks. It doesn't matter who wins or loses. I think your point is the data, and the data is really in the rates. And that's why I think now why rates are higher and they're holding it to try to offset inflation, because they didn't correct them fast enough early. And so they're trying to hyper catch up. And the problem is they get it and then it comes down and get it. And then they jump because people are spending. And so they can't pull them back or correct right now because they have to do something to offset inflation, but they can't play this game again the following year because it's going to cause issues with the economy and issues with the election. So I think people need to know one way or the other organically via inflation or a combination of inflation coming down and artificial cuts. I believe it's gonna bust by at least 1% pre-election. And then probably rally late 24, 25. So, and there's a lot of articles out there. That's not me saying people are starting to see mortgage-backed securities, capital markets, and all that. But I think we're going to I think our cheat code to getting interest rates earlier than they would like is the fact that the election is the following year. If it was 25, I think they'd let it try to come down organically on their own. But I just don't think with today's high inflation economy, they can do that and ride on that. So people that are out there, interest rates are a good thing, low rates are a good thing, but it's not everything. And the thought of waiting, it's, I do a YouTube on the cost of waiting. It's going to get really expensive because you're not the only one just focused on the rate and the payment. So consider everything that we talked about today because it's important to your future, to your money. There are so many alternatives. versus waiting and renting, sometimes it's the right idea. It's fine, but you want to turn over every stone before you get there, especially if you're in Dallas, especially if you're in Texas, just because, again, the key thing here is the growth. It's just so strong with the economic indicators and the people and the migration. Everybody has to live somewhere, and there's only so many roofs for so many people that want to buy. Okay, cool. Before we get out of here, I want you guys, where can people find you? Social, website, team name, go ahead and drop everything so people can follow and like.
Yeah, so our brokerage is Robert Elliott and Associates, but we're the HIT Group. So we have an office in Dallas, and our main office is up in Prosper. And I am on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all the main ones.
At Travis Hit?
At Travis Hit.
Okay.
And then, or maybe Travis.hit. So
What is
we'll
it?
put it on here.
Travis Hit Realtor? Which one
Travis
is it?
Hit Realtor for Instagram.
Okay, gotcha.
And then we'll supply my cell phone, but website's TravisHitRealEstate.com. I like to keep it super simple, but we're very approachable. We love to answer any questions you have, whether you work with us or not. If we can help you, we can have a conversation. That's truly our goal and what we're here to do.
You can find me on all platforms at Turner Cavender, and then our YouTube and iTunes podcast is the Real Estate Leadership, and we're here to just help you be educated when you make your real estate decisions.
So
Nice.
That's why I keep them around. I don't even know what my tags are.
I got you.
Gentlemen, I appreciate this. This has been great.
Thank you
Super
for having us.
educational. Everybody out there, hopefully you got a lot of gold out of this. Do us a favor, like, comment, subscribe. We're on all platforms, Spotify, Apple, all that fun stuff. Tune in, have fun. Until next time, stay tuned.